Hey, chocolate lovers! Welcome to our chocolate chat. You can introduce us?
Well, if you remember from our last video, I'm AJ and this is my mom Yeli. And we work for YelibellyChocolates.
Thank you, AJ. What a great way to introduce us. So we are here today to bring chocolate to your home. So normally we would be in the kitchen or at school, but since we are homeschooling and home working right now, we have decided to bring the chocolate to your living room. So hence chocolate chat. So last time we talked about a lot of stuff in our chocolate chat. We covered all about different ways that the cacao is grown, where it's grown, but what was the big takeaway from our last talk, AJ?
That cacao is not spelled cocoa.
That cacao and cocoa are two different things. So what is cacao? Can you remember and tell everybody what cacao is?
Cacao, there's a type of cacao pod which looks like this that people use a machete to cut it off.
Yes.
And they catch it and they
catch it.
And they cut open it and they open the top and they take out little beans that look like apple seeds that when they crumble them up, they become nibs.
They become nibs. Perfect. So our cacao pod has cacao beans inside that we open up to find the cacao nib, and that's where chocolate comes from. So that is different than cocoa. What actually is cocoa, did we discover?
That cocoa is another form of this.
So cocoa is the processed form of cacao, and that's why we say that it's actually two different words. So that was a lot that we covered in our last one. So we are going to cover something a little bit different today. Today we're going to talk about the different types of chocolate that exist. So first of all, AJ, can you tell me, we know that there are 3 different types of chocolate. Can you tell me what those types of chocolate are?
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
And the ones that people are arguing about, white chocolate.
People are arguing about white chocolate. Why are people arguing about white chocolate?
Because this one doesn't have any cocoa in it.
Doesn't have any what in it?
I mean, cacao in it.
Doesn't have any cacao in it. So there are 2 sides to this argument. That some people say white chocolate is not real chocolate, and they say that because white chocolate does not contain cacao. So that cacao is the dark stuff that makes chocolate look like chocolate. So does milk chocolate and dark chocolate have cacao in it?
Yeah.
It does. But it also has something called cocoa butter in it. And cocoa butter comes from the same pod that cacao comes from. So those little nibs, when we crush them up, actually have cacao and cocoa butter in them. White chocolate is made with cocoa butter, milk, sugar, and usually a little bit of vanilla. So there's 2 sides to the argument about whether or not white chocolate is real chocolate. Some people say because white chocolate has no cacao in it, that is not real chocolate. But other people say because the cocoa butter actually comes from the same cacao bean, that it is chocolate because it still comes from the same pod. So what is your opinion, AJ? Do you think white chocolate is real chocolate?
Well, if they come from the cacao pod, which they do, they are real.
Judgment placed. White chocolate is real chocolate because it comes from the same cacao pod.
Cacao hammer.
The cacao hammer has been laid down. So we have a final judgment from Junior Chef AJ that white chocolate is real chocolate because it contains cocoa butter, which comes from the cacao pod.
Cacao hammer.
Excellent. All right, so I want to surprise you with something though. Did you know that those 3 chocolates that we listed, white chocolate, milk chocolate, and dark chocolate, are not the only types of chocolate that exist in the world? There's actually a 4th type of chocolate. Do you know what it is?
Well, I think the last one is ruby red. And I know another name that comes from that. Ruby red from AJ and the Queen.
Yes, Yes, from watching AJ and the Queen, we learned all about Ruby Red on Netflix with RuPaul, didn't we?
Yeah.
All right. So aside from that and us watching about RuPaul and Ruby Red, there is a fourth type of chocolate that exists in the world called Ruby. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up there if you can see. So Ruby is a fourth type of chocolate that was actually discovered, and it's a proprietary chocolate made by a company called Barry Callebaut. They are a Belgian chocolate company, and what they have found is there are certain pods that produce certain beans that have a natural red color to them. And they produce a really tart red berry flavored chocolate naturally without adding any color or flavor to them. So I'm going to have AJ try some of our red ruby chocolate and tell me what you think. So pop it in your mouth. What do you think?
Tastes like chocolate.
It tastes like chocolate. It does, because it is chocolate. What do you think about the flavor? Does it taste like a little bit of red berry flavor maybe? Like a little bit of raspberry or strawberry?
Why don't we smell them?
Smell them. Has a really nice fruity smell to it.
They smell like roses.
It does. So this is a chocolate that is a little bit hard to get on the market right now because it is so new to the US, but the FDA and the European Union both recognize Ruby as the fourth type of chocolate that exists in the world. Right now, Barry Callebaut, though, is the only company that actually makes it. When you do find it, you're probably going to see it at places like Whole Foods and Central Market, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive. We're seeing it probably between 4 and 5 times the price of regular chocolate right now because it is actually a rare form of chocolate. So if you do get a chance to try it, and maybe in some of our future chocolate chats, we'll make some desserts using Ruby chocolate. Would that be good? That would be good. So we have to find some nice tart red berry flavors in our chocolate, and we can maybe make some different chocolate treats for people to see. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Why don't we see who texted us now?
Oh, is someone sending us comments? Oh, let's check out our comments then. Let's see if I can be good at it. So.
Oh, let's do that one.
Okay, Barb says, great job, AJ. Thank you, Barb. And we have Jennifer checking in, saying that AJ rocks. He's not the only one on camera here. I feel like chopped liver over here. So we have everybody saying hi to AJ. You are definitely the most popular one here today. So Sabrina has a good question for us. Let's see if we can answer this. It says, why is some chocolate super bitter and other chocolate is sweet and softer?
Well,
what do you think? Do you know why some chocolate is more bitter?
Because I think bitter is more softer and the other one is more rough.
So you're just going to kind of make stuff up until it sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what she just said.
All right. So why is some chocolate more bitter? So some chocolate is more bitter if it has a higher percentage of cacao and a smaller amount of sugar in it. Now, you've seen bars like this that have percentages listed on the bar. So like this bar says 70%. So let's talk about what that actually means though. So when a bar has 70% chocolate, why don't you hold that for me? So that means out of 100% of this bar, 70% of that bar is cacao, which means 30% of that bar is made room for some cocoa butter or some sugar or maybe a little bit of vanilla. So the higher that number that goes up, the higher the percentage of cacao that's in there and the less space that it actually has for sugar. So if you have a bar that's 100% cacao, this is actually baker's chocolate. Cacao. So this is actually baker's chocolate. So this has nothing added to it. It is straight chocolate nibs. So this bar is going to be super bitter. This bar is 70%. So if we have 70% out of 100, what's the other percentage?
It is 3 more.
30%. So we have 30% of that bar left. So when we get down to something like milk chocolate is considered 50% cacao, so half. So that means that milk chocolate is going to be a lot sweeter than our dark chocolate because it's got more room for sugar, more room for milk and dairy, and more room for vanilla. And that way that we know the higher the number that is on our bar, the more bitter the chocolate might be. Now, what also is interesting is we can have two 70% bars of chocolate where one is sweeter and one is more bitter. And we don't know anything more than what that 30% is. We don't know the amount of sugar or the amount of cocoa butter. So you can actually have two 70% chocolates where one is a little bit sweeter and one is a little bit more bitter. So that means that people just need to try more chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So another type of chocolate that is not actually a totally different type of chocolate, but you're seeing it a lot on the market right now, is a chocolate that has a little bit of a caramel color to that. You want to try that one?
Sure. Well, first, let's smell it.
Let's smell it. What does it smell like to you?
Smells like...
Does it smell like caramel to you?
A little.
A little bit. So why don't you try that? Pop that one in your mouth, and AJ is going to let that sit in his mouth and melt a little bit. And what we're actually trying is a chocolate that is a caramelized white chocolate. You might see it advertised as a gold chocolate. Hershey's has a gold, Barry Callebaut has a gold chocolate, Nestle's has a gold. All it is basically a caramelized white chocolate, which means that it's cooked. So we actually can make white chocolate into caramelized white chocolate by cooking it. So if you put white chocolate in the oven at a low temperature for a few hours, you'll actually caramelize the sugars in the chocolate, thereby making caramelized white chocolate. Sometimes it's just easier to go buy it if you like that flavor though. So what do you think of caramelized white chocolate?
Tastes a little like caramel.
Tastes a little bit like caramel. Do you think you like it?
Not really.
No. So which chocolate do you like better so far? You like the dark chocolate still? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the proper way that we should taste chocolate. So normally when you eat chocolate, how do you eat it? When you eat like a bar of chocolate, what do you normally do?
Well, usually what I do is you don't like just take a piece and shove it in your mouth and eat it. Like munch, munch, munch. You take a piece, set it in your mouth, and let it melt.
Oh, that is perfect. This kid has been raised the right way. So the right way to try chocolate is to break off a small piece. Like that? Like that? Is that a good size small piece?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. So the best way to properly taste a piece of chocolate is to break a piece, and you can bite it, but the hardest part about tasting fine chocolate is not chewing your chocolate. That's one of the biggest things that we have to teach people when learning how to taste chocolate is don't chew your chocolate. First rule of Chocolate Club, don't chew your chocolate. So you can bite your chocolate, but you're not supposed to chew it. If you just chew it and swallow it, you're actually going to miss all of the flavor. Did you just shove that whole piece in your mouth? So much for moderation, I guess. Now you have to let that whole thing in your mouth melt. So we might have to work in moderation a little bit, but the best way to taste chocolate is take a small piece, put it in your mouth, and let it melt.
Like I'm doing right now.
Like you're doing right now, but that also means you got to keep your mouth closed while that chocolate is melting. Yes?
Oh, so it'll leak out.
It'll leak out. So this is a great way to keep your kids' mouth shut. Put chocolate in their mouth, so they have to keep their mouth shut, and it gets so much quieter in the house. Yay!
Except when they're done, they start yelling and screaming again.
They start yelling and screaming again. So we have to keep you plied with chocolate then, huh? All right, so how does that chocolate taste so far?
Tastes good.
It tastes good? All right, I agree. So
many people are talking about just me.
I know. Everybody is talking about you. You must be the popular one between the two of us. So I should just leave. You could probably do this chocolate chat all by yourself.
Dun, 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 dun.
You're lucky you're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so this chocolate that you tried was a 60% dark chocolate. And this one is just a pretty generic bar, nothing too special about it. It's just a Swiss dark chocolate that we actually picked up at the grocery store. So this just kind of tastes like a regular chocolate, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you want to try chocolate that's a little bit more interesting, you need to get into chocolates with either one of three things: an infusion, an inclusion, or a single origin chocolate. Those types of chocolates are all going to have amazing flavors to them. So let's talk about the differences between those. Are you choking?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the first one. A chocolate with an infusion. Can you say infusion for everybody?
Infusion.
Infusion. So a chocolate with an infusion has a flavor that's been added to it. And it's usually in the form of an oil or a water or a cream, something that's added to the chocolate to give a flavor. So what's this one?
It's called Tico.
It's called Cho. Cho, so T-C-H-O, Cho is an excellent chocolate company. They make a wide variety of bars that are pretty easy for people to purchase at most grocery stores.
Let's taste it.
Well, we'll break this open in a second, but we're going to talk about what makes this an infusion. So an infusion means that something has been added to the chocolate that is a flavor.
Cool.
So it might be like mint, it could be the berries like this one.
Like mint chocolate chip.
It could be like mint. So, but an infusion is usually a flavor, but not a thing like an object added to it. If you want to try a chocolate that has stuff added to it, you try a chocolate with an inclusion. An inclusion means that we've added an actual bit of something to our chocolate. So this one is from one of my favorite bean to bar chocolate companies. This one is called Potomac.
Inclusion.
So an inclusion is something that's added. So can you read what this one says on there?
Chocolate?
I know it says Potomac chocolate up there, but what does that say there?
You read my mind.
So this chocolate is called You Bred My Mind. This is a favorite chocolate of mine from Potomac. It actually has sourdough, croutons, and bread crushed up in the chocolate. So that's an inclusion. When you have something that has a chocolate added to it where there's bits of something, so it could be bits of other types of chocolate, it could have bits of strawberry maybe, or dried fruit in there, or if it has something like sourdough breadcrumbs in there, that's considered an inclusion.
Cool.
So now we know the difference between an infusion and an inclusion.
Inclusion.
All right, let's talk about the third way that we can find some really great flavor in our chocolate, and that is finding a single origin chocolate. So a single origin chocolate means all of the beans that make that chocolate came from one place. It could be one country, it could be one plantation even.
One state?
One state, if it was more than just Hawaii that grew chocolate for us. Let me grab my chocolate bar that is my infusion and inclusion, and this one is our single origin bar. So this one is a single origin bar that we bought from Central Market, and it's from Vietnam. So all of the beans for this chocolate came from one area, one country, which is Vietnam. It's a single origin chocolate, which means the flavor is going to be much more powerful. So instead of just trying a regular 60% chocolate, we try a single origin chocolate that's bean to bar, and we get a much stronger flavor out of it. It is much more interesting for people than just a regular chip.
Hey, Mom, did you even notice what was on the front?
What's on the front of that one?
Cacao.
Cacao beans. So do you want to try this single origin chocolate?
Yeah.
All right, so this is a single origin from Vietnam. We're going to take a small piece of that one. So single origin chocolate tends to be a little bit more expensive, but it's really worth it in terms of the flavor that you're actually going to get out of the chocolate. If you want something that's more interesting than just your plain bar of chocolate, look for something that's considered single origin so you get much more flavor out of it too.
How come this one isn't melting?
Oh, it's taking a lot longer to melt, is it? Oh, interesting. Why do you think that is?
Because maybe it's more maybe it's been in the fridge longer.
Well, it actually is because it has more cacao in it.
What?
So you had a 60% chocolate, and now you're trying a 70% chocolate.
What?
So that means it's going to have a higher amount of cacao and less sugar and cocoa butter. So it's going to melt a little bit slower. So what do you think about the flavor of that one? Does it taste a lot stronger than this other chocolate that we had? What kind of flavors do you think come out of that one? Does it remind you of anything?
It reminds me of the cacao nibs we tried yesterday.
It does, because it's a lot more bitter of a chocolate. Good one. All right, let's see if we've got any questions that have lined up here for us. Let's see. Oh, why is everything written in reverse? Because I'm not good with the camera, Abby. That's why everything is in reverse. So I might have to learn how to be a little bit better about flipping my camera around too, but that's why everything is in reverse right now. All right, one more thing that I want to talk about, that I want to share with people about our bars of chocolate, is something called bloom. We had a really good question the last time around that we did our chocolate chat about what is bloom. So I'm going to show you a piece of chocolate that we've bloomed. Bloom happens when you get this gray kind of look on top of the chocolate. And in Texas, where we are, that can happen very easily. If you leave a chocolate out in your car and it gets hot and melty, and then you bring it inside and you throw it in the refrigerator to firm it back up, a lot of times that chocolate is going to end up with bloom on it. It's going to end up with this gray kind of look to it. Now, what's interesting is that's just the cocoa butter having separated out, but it doesn't taste any different than any other chocolate. It's just the look of it. So it doesn't actually mean the chocolate is old. It doesn't mean that it's molded or means anything is wrong with it. It just means that it went in and out of the heat too much, and that cocoa butter is not in the same stabilized crystals, the form 5 that we like to see, which gives us that snapped chocolate. So if we compare two bits of chocolate here, let's see, we have one that's nice and shiny, that has perfect temper, and we have this one that has a bit of bloom on it, which means that it's not in temper right now. So our bloomed chocolate is going to look kind of gray. It may not have a good snap to it when we actually break it, but a perfect tempered piece of chocolate has a beautiful shine. And listen really closely. Ooh, it has a nice snap to it. That means that chocolate is in perfect temper. However, the good thing to know about bloomed chocolate is that it's not bad to eat. Did that chocolate taste any different to you?
A little different.
How did it taste different?
Well, since the cocoa butter isn't in the crystal 5, and those are, it's like spread it out a little.
Oh, so your palate is so observant that you were able to pick out that you can taste the bloom, huh? Oh. What's good to know for the general public, and if you're not a 7-year-old trying to make stuff up, is that the chocolate doesn't taste any different. So feel free, if you have a piece of bloomed chocolate, to eat it. Don't throw it away. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just got a little bit of different color on the top of it. But if you saw this in the store, you're likely not to buy it because of that bloomed look to it. But we want people to know that bloomed chocolate is not bad. It just means that it got in and out of the heat and cold a little bit too much. Yes. All right, and someone's going to have to be cut off of their chocolate, I believe, too. Have you had a little bit too much chocolate today? Too much? Probably. All right, let's see if we've got any more questions before we go. Does bloom chocolate still melt and blend into recipes the same? That's a really good question.
And I could actually do that. And yes, it does melt.
It does melt, you're right. So you can actually use bloomed chocolate in your recipes. You can also re-temper bloomed chocolate. All you need to do is melt it all the way, and you can actually start the whole process over again. Easy to do. And maybe that's something we need to do for one of our next chocolate chats.
Yeah.
All right, so before we go today, we wanted to share with you guys, if you're bored at home and loving our chocolate chats, we love to get comments and questions, and we'll do our next chocolate chat on Wednesdays. Same bat time, same bat channel, 3 o'clock. But in between then and now, if you're bored out of your gourd at home and going stir crazy, what can people do at home if they want to get a little chocolate wasted?
You can make these truffles.
You can make your own truffles at home. So Yelly Belly has boxes of ingredients and videos online that teach a full class of how to make what?
Truffles.
We make truffles, we make French mendiants, and we also have a piping class where you can make little butterflies that move. So if you want to, head over to our website. We have free shipping going right now. The code for free shipping is free for me. What is our free shipping code?
Free for me!
Free for me. If you put that in for any boxes that you're ordering, you can have free shipping directly to your door of any of our ingredient boxes. So anything else we want to tell people before we go?
Let's get chocolate wasted.
Thanks for participating with us, everybody. Leave us some questions and comments, and we will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye now.
Someone said that I look too cute.
You look too cute. you, whatever.
See? LOL. He's too cute.
All right. Bye, guys.